When most people hear sex magic, they immediately picture something out of a witchy movie. But in reality, sex magic doesn't need to be complicated or super long or some weird thing for the ultra spiritual. It's a little weird. It's definitely for the woo-woo ladies. But it's also a natural embodied practice that helps you work with your own life force energy. You're using this innate power that is already within you. The energy that creates everything from babies to ideas to miracles to manifest the life you want. Hello and welcome to Sacred Sex for Real Women. For woo-woo women and long-term love who crave wow sex, deep connection, and radiant confidence. This podcast offers simple, soulful tools to bring sacred sex and feminine embodiment into your real life, so you can feel turned on in your body, your marriage, and your day-to-day without needing to disappear to a women's retreat. And I'm your host, Jannine McKinnon, sacred sexuality coach, sex magic expert, homeschooling small-town mama, and a woman who has walked the walk alongside you, having been through the ups and downs of over 10 years of marriage with my husband. And if you've ever been curious about sex magic, but found yourself thinking, is that a little bit too out there? Is it a little bit too complicated or time consuming, or need to have a partner super into that? This episode is for you. Today we are busting the biggest myths that stop women from trying sex magic, and I promise by the end of this episode, you'll see just how simple, grounded, and accessible this practice truly is. Now, if you are wanting to learn exactly what sex magic is, I recommend going way back to episode 49, where over a year ago, I broke down the process a little bit more. I will link it in the show notes. I also recommend, perhaps after this episode, going back to the last episode, 120, where I talk about why sex magic works. It helps give you a bit of background. You don't need to listen to that episode before this one, but I do recommend giving that one a listen. But for now, we are busting sex magic myths. And so I will dive in by sharing a little bit about my personal story with misconceptions. When I first heard about sex magic, it was in the early days of embracing my witchy side, if you will. For much of my life, I was always interested in crystals and the magical and a connection with nature and healing through herbs and so many of these different things. But it was something I kept inside and I didn't explore very much. I had a bunch of subconscious beliefs, fear of judgment because of different things I would hear my family and those around me say about people who embrace these things that I was interested in. So as I began to peel off these layers and come out of the broom closet, if you will, is when I first stumbled upon the idea of sex magic. And at that time, I had this very specific picture of what sex magic was. And for me, it is a woman underneath the full moon, underneath a tree outside with a blanket down and candles all around her and the wind and the leaves moving and some music playing. And she might be on her bleed too and doing a sex magic ritual with her partner. And it seemed raw and magical and super intimidating and too complicated. And the thought of bringing my husband into this at that time was like, there is no way that is going to happen. I'm barely sharing about any of this. You think I'm going to do that with him? And so this belief, this idea, this story I had kept me from trying it for a long time. Then fast forward as I deepened my work with tantric embodiment and energy work, that I realized sex magic actually gets to be very approachable. And it's not about the performance and having this just perfect ritual. It's really about the feeling state. It's about learning to work with the energy that's already flowing through your body. The same energy you feel when you're aroused, inspired, or just brimming with creativity. And when you channel that energy with intention, that's where the magic happens. So if you've been curious but hesitant, perhaps you had a similar idea of what sex magic is, let's bust through the biggest misconceptions together and help you see how you can start right where you are. Myth number 1, sex magic has to be a big, long ritual. This is a big one. And I think movies play a big role in this because most witchy movies, they needed just the right divine astrological timing at the right moment to do any of these rituals. And it had this big build up and needing all of these things. And so perhaps that's what really got that idea in my mind and perhaps in your mind as well. But again, it can be that. It absolutely can. And if that's where you want to take it and you're that extra person, have at her. But it doesn't have to be. Sex magic is really about intentional energy connection. And you can do this in as little as 10-ish minutes if you're truly present. So I will do what I call my quickie sex magic practice, which is inside the Sensual Embodiment Collective. I do it in the mornings to help me really anchor in that embodiment. Now, what I like to think of as a longer sex magic ritual, which is what I guide many others through in my courses and embodiment journeys and being inside other people's programs, is something that's more around 20 to 30 minutes. And so, yes, you can do this full sacred setup, which I like to do for my weekly devotional date nights with myself, my pleasure practices, light some candles, set up my ritual space, which I share about inside the ritual kit and inside Sex Magic Level 1. And then other days, it's simply me sitting on my bed, closing my eyes, breathing into my pelvis, and visualizing what I'm calling in and moving that energy. The power isn't in the props. It's in your presence. And if you take nothing else away from this episode, remember you don't need more time. You don't need multiple hours. But you need just the right amount of time that you can be present for it. If you're curious how to start small, my free Sex Magic Ritual Kit walks you through the simple foundational pieces to do this ritual for you in whatever time frame you have. So it'll give you the setup, the steps, and how to make it yours. Myth number 2, you can only do sex magic during a full moon. And like I said, this is a belief that I held onto as well. But the truth is you can do sex magic at any time. I actually think there's a lot of kind of off beliefs when it comes to full moons. For me, full moon energy is really about the harvest. And so really reaping what you sowed and reaping the benefits of your manifestation starting to come into play and peeling back the layers, peeling back what is not in alignment so you continue to harvest these benefits, this manifestation. The new moon energy is actually much more aligned for what people think of for the full moon and manifesting with sex magic. It is where you are planting those seeds, planting that intention. And so new moons are a beautiful time to have a sex magic ritual. That said, you don't have to do it with any specific timing whatsoever. Sure, the moon can amplify your energy if you like working with it, but you don't need to wait for it to tell you when to create. You are the source of the magic, not the moon. Your body has its own cycles, your energy, your emotions, your turn on. Those are powerful portals for manifestation all on their own without the moon. And when you get to tune into that and follow your desires and follow when it just feels right to do a sex magic ritual, that's when things are really going to fall into place. That's where things become sustainable because it's approachable. You're doing it with your own spin in your own timing. You don't need to wait for cosmic permission to start working with your energy. You get to do it now. And I have many different offerings inside SEC, the Sex Magick Level 1 course, where I can guide you through these practices in a step-by-step way. So you can really tune into your magic, connecting with your energy and your body and your intuition with when these things are right for you and moving through that full ritual. Now, myth number 3, sex magic is dark or dangerous. I feel like this is the most misunderstood myth of all. I totally get where it's coming from. Again, kind of going back to that movie scene idea of what sex magic is. Sure, sex magic, as well as anything, can be used to be dark or manipulative or so-called evil. Everything has light and dark within it. We can even abuse water and make ourselves sick from drinking too much of it. Everything has that frequency to be supportive or to bring us down. And so it's, how do we create harmony within that? How do we find alignment, keeping it within the light for us, keeping it with integrity for us? And so that's why inside my Sex Magick Level 1 course, and even within the guided audios inside SEC, I touch on it. I'm very specific about creating a ritual space. And what that is every practice I do this. Even my coaching sessions, I do this. And before recording this podcast, I do it actually. Is creating a ritual space by envisioning a golden ring of light surrounding the space, signifying the sacredness of this container. And then blanketing this ritual space in an iridescent bubble of love, safety, compassion, and protection, only allowing in the universal energy, spirits, and guides who support the highest truth and greatest love of the collective. So that is an abbreviated version of it. But it sets that intention. It creates that protection for your ritual space so you can feel confident that you are only working with energies of the light. Now you can adjust those wordings in whatever way feels good for you. In addition to that, I teach you in the course to check in with your integrity before continuing on. Is this desire you have, is it for the greatest good and highest love of the collective? Or is there something dark? Are you trying to manipulate people or change outcomes or whatever it may be? That's not the way I teach sex magic. Sure, some people can use it that way, but that's not my particular flavor. I'm very anchored into the integrity of this practice because it's this power inside all of us, and we get the choice to use it in whatever way feels most aligned for us. So I will only teach you how to do that in alignment with the highest truth and greatest love. Moving on to myth number 4. Sex magic is complicated. Sure, it can be that way. Again, absolutely. You can make it complicated if you want to, but it doesn't need to be that way. It can be in your bathtub, on your bed, on your bathroom floor. I have personally done it on all of those spaces and more. It can be simple. Now, what sex magic does is you work with your sexual creation energy. You are tapping into your pleasure in a way that feels aligned for you. It doesn't have to be super full on and sexual. It can be simple with breath and moving your hips, or it can be full blown sexual. You're taking that energy, bringing in the visualization and the embodiment, and then moving that energy through your body. So there's a few steps. The first time you do it, it might feel clunky. It certainly felt clunky for me. If you're unfamiliar with the chakra system and moving energy through your body, that's where that clunkiness is going to come from. But it's a practice. It's something you return to over and over, and it gets easier to do. Just like riding a bike, we may just think of like getting on a bike and riding. But when you are first learning how to ride a bike, you are keeping your balance. You're moving your feet with the pedals. You are steering with the handlebar and using the brakes. There are a few different moving parts. And so for those who know how to ride a bike, or for those who know how to do sex magic, it's simple. It's easy. Once you know it, you know it. That said, when you start, there's some clunkiness being able to weave in your turn on, your pleasure with the full visualization and moving the energy through your chakra system. That's why I guide you through it. There's, again, many different guided audios inside SEC, and I deepen it, really taking you step by step through this process with Sex Magick Level 1, Awaken Your Power. Myth number 5, you have to do it with a partner. And I hear this all the time. It's just sex magic. Sex, you think two. You think partners, that you have to do it with your partner. And for me, sacred sexuality, which sex magic is a facet of, is feeling empowered in this personal relationship with your sexuality, this devotion to yourself, this connection with your full 5 senses and your emotional feeling state that you then get to share with your partner when it feels right to do so. The same applies to sex magic. As I had touched on with the previous myth, there's a few moving parts. When you are starting out learning this, do you think you want to teach your partner how to do this while you're still learning? Probably not. That sounds complicated to me. So how we make it simple is by doing it on your own. And just because it's simple on your own does not make it not powerful. It is incredibly powerful. A woman tapped into her sexual creation energy is a power to be reckoned with. So you absolutely get to do this with yourself. And that's what I teach in level 1 and level 2 of the course and with the free ritual kit. It's not until level 3 that I begin teaching that partnered practice, because that's where the complicatedness can pop in. So you do not need a partner. You get to do this all on your own. So to wrap everything up, sex magic gets to be short and sweet if you want it to be. You can do it at any time you choose, whatever feels right for you. Sex magic gets to be in alignment with the highest truth and greatest love. It can be fairly simple once you get those few clunky pieces put together and you get to do it yourself, really tapping into your personal power, because you are the magic. Your body, your breath, your desire, that's the ritual. So if this conversation lit something up inside you, trust that. I've got, as I said, many different options for free. The Sex Magick Ritual Kit, I walk you through it. I have a Sex Magick live embodiment journey, so you can jump on that, or you can jump inside the replays and the guided audio inside the Sensual Embodiment Collective. And of course, for those that love having the depth, love having things mapped out step by step. So here's how to work with your energy body. Here's how to do the visualization with embodiment. Here's how to put it all together with pleasure. Sex Magick Level 1, Awaken Your Power, is where you can find that. I will link everything in the show notes. As always, thank you so much for listening. You are sacred. You are powerful. And your body is the most magical manifestation tool you'll ever own. It's not in the vision boards and in your journal and in the things you tape up everywhere. Sure, those help, but that powerful tool you have is your body and your sexual energy. Until next week, go create some magic, and I will be back next Tuesday.